All right, welcome. So if you're an associate project manager apprentice, especially one of our learners from Kent Business College, you know skill S25 on configuration and change control is a big deal for your level 4. But what does that actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon at your desk? Well, in this explainer, we're going to take that theory and turn it into a practical skill you can use tomorrow, and just as importantly, evidence for your portfolio. Let's get it.
Does this sound familiar? Oh yeah. This is that classic moment where the textbook stuff smacks right into the real world. A simple, casual question from a manager can suddenly feel like a pop quiz you did not study for. Today, we're going to follow an apprentice named Jody as she turns this exact moment of panic into a masterclass of project control. Okay, let's set the scene. Meet Jody. She's a fantastic APM apprentice at a company called Ibis Stores. Right now, she's deep in a big marketing campaign project. And that's when her line manager, Riedel, drops by her desk with that classic request. Riedel wants to bring a major deadline forward. She calls it a quick change. But for Jody, you can just imagine the alarm bells going off. What's the right move here? Does she just jump into the schedule and change the date? Does she say no? This one little informal request has put her in a really tricky spot, right between wanting to be super helpful and knowing deep down there's got to be a proper process for this. Now, luckily for Jody, she has a mentor, a guy named Adam. And Adam sees this not as a problem, but as the perfect teaching moment. He pulls her aside and explains that the formal process, it's not about being difficult or saying no. It's about protecting the project from descending into total chaos.
And this is why it matters so much. Adam lays it out for her. Look, without a process, you get what's called scope creep. The project just grows and grows. Your schedules become completely meaningless. Costs start to spiral out of control. But with a process, you protect your plan, you create a perfect audit trail so everyone knows why decisions were made, and you seriously reduce risk. It's literally the difference between being a professional and just winging it.
So the first thing you have to understand is what you're actually protecting. Adam introduces this crucial concept, the baseline. The easiest way to think about it, it's the project's constitution. It's the signed-off, agreed-upon, official version of the plan. So Riedel's quick change isn't just a tiny tweak, it's a proposed amendment to this official document.
And that brings us to the other side of this coin, configuration management. It sounds complicated, but Adam explains it's really just a formal way of making sure everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet. You know, it stops one person from working on an old version of the plan while someone else is using a new one. It's all about maintaining that single official source of truth for everyone.
So let's get to the how. Adam gives Jody a super simple 4-step process she can use every single time. 1. You log the request. Get it out of a hallway conversation and onto paper. 2. You support the impact assessment. Your job is to help gather the data on what this change really means for time, cost, and risk. 3. You wait for the decision. You escalate it to the right person with the authority to say yes or no. And 4. The most important part. Only after it's approved do you update the plan and tell everybody. It's simple, it's clear, and it's incredibly powerful. And here's what step 1 actually looks like. See? It's not some crazy, complicated document. It's a simple change log. Jody creates her very first entry, ID 3001, a quick description of what Riedel asked for, who asked for it, and the date. And notice the status? Logged. That's it, she's done it. She has officially and correctly kicked off the process. Now pay attention, because this slide is absolutely crucial for every single apprentice. Adam makes this crystal clear to Jody. Your role is to support this process. Your job is to maintain the records, to keep the logs updated, and to escalate. It is absolutely not your job to approve the change. That power belongs to someone else, like the project manager or the sponsor. Knowing where your authority begins and ends is what makes you a true professional. You see, following this process isn't just about ticking a box for Riedel's request. Adam explains to Jody that this is a fundamental step in her journey. This is how she goes from being a junior member of the team to being a credible, trusted project professional. And that journey, it has a clear path. First, you just watch and learn the why. Then, you start to apply it with a bit of help. That's exactly where Jody is right now with Adam. Pretty soon, she'll be doing it on her own. Then, she'll get so good she can interpret the data and justify why a change is a good or bad idea. And finally, she'll be able to adapt this core skill to any project in any company. Seeing it laid out like this makes it all feel doable, right? Okay, now let's bring in another key person in Jody's world, her apprenticeship coach, Olivia. Olivia's focus is a little different.
She comes in and says, "That's great that you're doing the work, Jody, but how are you going to prove it for your Aptum portfolio?" This is where we turn that great work into solid evidence. So Olivia shows Jody exactly what good evidence looks like. It's not enough to just say you did it. You need to upload the proof. We're talking about the actual change request form you used, a screenshot of the change log you're keeping, maybe even a before and after of the project schedule to show the change was only made after it was approved. And of course, the glue that holds it all together, your detailed reflective account in Aptum that explains what you did and why it mattered. And check this out. This is a perfect example of a great reflection. It's short, it's professional, and it's absolutely packed with keywords. Notice the phrasing: followed the change control process, ensured the schedule baseline was protected, only after approval was granted. It directly links Jody's actions, like logging the request, to the core principles of the skill. That's what assessors want to see. In fact, Olivia basically gives Jody the secret sauce, the assessor's mental checklist. They're looking for 4 main things. 1, did you actually use your employer's process? 2, do you really get what a baseline is, and crucially, what you are and are not allowed to do? 3, is your paperwork neat, accurate, and professional? And 4, did you follow the rules of project governance? If your evidence can tick all 4 of those boxes, you are golden. All right, the final boss, the endpoint assessment, or EPA. Olivia now shifts into coaching mode, getting Jody ready to talk about this skill with confidence and clarity when she's in that final, high-pressure interview. So imagine you're in the hot seat, and the assessor looks at you and asks a question just like this. It's a direct test of skill S25. How do you give a great answer without just rambling on? Well, Olivia provides a brilliant, simple, 4-part structure for the perfect answer. Number 1, start by stating what you were protecting, the project baseline. 2, briefly describe the 4-step process you followed. 3, name the specific documents you used, like the changelog. And 4, this is key, confirm your boundaries. My role was to support the process, not to approve the change. It's a clear, confident structure that hits every single mark. Here's another classic EPA question. Now this one's a little different. It's designed to test your commercial awareness. It's not just about what you did, but do you understand why it matters so much to the business? What's the real danger if people just ignore this stuff? And the answer, of course, goes right back to the very beginning of our story. You talk about the risk of scope creep, you explain how the project's schedule becomes completely unreliable, you mention that costs can balloon without any formal approval, and you point out that accountability just disappears when there's no clear audit trail. Naming these specific business risks shows the assessor that you don't just follow rules, you understand the value you're adding. So let's just step back and look at Jody's journey. What started out as a slightly nerve-wracking quick change request from her manager became the perfect opportunity. She used it to learn the process, to apply it in the real world, to create amazing evidence for her portfolio, and to get ready for her final assessment. She turned a simple, everyday task into a powerful demonstration of a core professional competency. And now, really, it's over to you. That next informal request that, hey, can you just moment? It's coming. You know it is. But the difference is, now you have the roadmap. So the real question is, how are you going to use that moment not as a problem to be solved, but as your next great opportunity to prove you have mastered this essential